and welcome to the Popcorn Junkies for our review of Wuthering Heights.
With inverted comma fingers if you're listening on podcasts.
Look at all the posters, look at the side of any bus. It's in inverted commas, Wuthering Heights. It's part of the title. It's part of the title that we have to listen to and look at and take note about. This is the third film by Emerald Fennell. Emerald Fennell did Promising Young Woman.
Loved it.
Which we love, with Kerry Mulligan. She also did, obviously, Saltburn, which was just the sleeper hit of whatever year it came out. Yeah, I wasn't so convinced by Saltburn. I loved Promising Young Woman. That's our dog taking a drink in the background. That's quite Emerald Fennell. She'd just go with that. She would go with the... In fact, that's not entirely dissimilar to the sounds that you hear at the beginning of this film. Anyway, so she made Saltburn. Obviously, that was a huge hit. It really turbocharged Jacob Elordi, and that's kind of interesting because Jacob Elordi is the star of Wuthering Heights, as is or was the producer of Saltburn, Margot Robbie. So this stars Margot Robbie.
She's the producer of Saltburn.
Yeah, so they worked together. Emerald and Margot worked together as producers, co-producer, director type thing, which is why it was kind of intriguing and interesting how this film came together. And part of the press push, Emerald Fennell has talked about how she never had the confidence to pluck up the courage to ask Margot if she would do it. She was simply, it was a script she delivered to Margot's production company, and Margot looked at it and said, I think I'd like to do, she sort of offered.
To play Catherine. Yeah. And maybe that would never have happened if she hadn't, but she was too nervous to ask because she didn't want her to feel
Exactly. Well, she says, I like the way Emerald Fennell says it, she says, Margot was infinitely braver than me. So I think the first thing to say before we get cracking with this review is the very title, or the name of this, Wuthering Heights, comes with so many there've been many classic versions with Merle Oberon and Laurence Olivier.
Well, it was Merle Oberon, wasn't it? But I was thinking it was Vivian Leigh. I also thought it was Vivian Leigh that was Kathy in the one that I watched. Well, I think back to, just the flash images and feelings, her at the window, the moors, it was black and white, the one that I watched. Obviously we did it at school and I just loved it.
It's Gothic
My
romance.
Memories of it, and this is what I love, what Emerald Fennell has said and why she puts the Wuthering Heights in inverted commas, is it's her impressions and memories and feelings that she had at 14 when she watched it. And I heard that after I'd seen the film. I thought, oh my God, that's so what I actually got from it as well.
Yeah.
Because I think like a lot of people's sexual awakening, it was just I just remember it being very raunchy, very passionate, very visceral, very...
It was kind of
dark and gothic. Dark is a big thing.
I mean, in its own way, Wuthering Heights was a sort of precursor to D.H. Lawrence's Lady Chatterley's Lover for that sort of... I don't think it quite caused the same level of offence, but I do think it was kind of censored and it was imported and all this kind of stuff, Wuthering Heights. The thing about it that kind of has immortalised it for me, weirdly, I was kind of thinking you might have reached for this parallel, was Kate Bush, of course, Cathy,
Well, I wasn't going to say that. Of course I wasn't going to say that.
Why not?
It's me.
Because I think it's important to mention that, because I think for me that song did a lot more to kind of rehabilitate the story, because I think although an important work of literature, I don't necessarily think it's held in as high esteem as people who haven't studied English literature like to think. They think, oh, it's Wuthering Heights, it must be great. I think it's dark, it's romantic, it's everything, but as a work of literature, half of it is really quite boring. In terms of the sort of fleshing out the cast, we've got Jacob Elordi, Margot Robbie, Martin Clunes in there as
he was
Catherine's
so
father.
horrific, but I didn't think I was going to be able to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hong Chau, who plays, I forget the name of her character, but she plays the sort of her assistant, doesn't she? Margot's assistant, Nellie. Anyway, so the big thing here is it's really, I mean, this is one of those films which I like. I love films where, yes, your cast is amazing. Yes, you either love or hate Margot Robbie, love or hate Jacob Elordi, whatever. But also the director is as much of a star in the kind of package, if you like. We went thinking, oh, what's she going to do that's different? How is she going to surprise us? How are we going to be... how's she going to upset the table? As she says in another interview, how do we upturn the table and throw it everywhere?
Which she did for me in Promising Young Woman. I just loved it so much.
Totally.
It was just a woman. You could feel a woman all the way through it and made it.
Yeah.
It was just, that's why it's just so important. We just give more women a chance.
And she really upturns the table in Saltburn. I felt unsuccessfully, but she did it in such a kind of dramatic fashion that the whole film literally pivots. Even from the first scene and the first moment of the film, you think you're listening to sex. It's really...
I knew he won't.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
First few seconds I did, and they're like, no, it's not. This
is the
sex.
creaky, and all the sounds. I thought, oh, right, okay, she's going to crack. She's going to start off where she left things in Saltburn, and it's going to be bodice ripping, constant bums bouncing type stuff. And then, of course, we entered this incredibly visceral scene. You know, not medieval, but mid-19th century Britain. A man's just been hung.
He's got a hard on.
And he gets an erection. I mean, something that you just think, oh my God, that's a detail that made me want to scurry to the book and go, how did she mention an erection in the book? No, I know. But more troubling still than just the hanging was the appetite of everyone for it.
And then everyone having sex around it.
Yeah, people having, bawdiness.
It was bawdy. It was the true meaning of bawdy,
yes.
wasn't it?
But off the back of a public hanging.
And it was all a bit close up, and it's also the first time that we see Cathy, the bluest eyes I've ever seen.
The young Cathy.
Blondest hair, and I was like, no! Because my Cathy always had long, Kate Bush almost hair, you know.
Right, long dark hair.
Dark hair, dark, everything about it was dark in my mind's eye. So I was a bit like, oh God, this isn't going to work. She's all excited by the hanging.
Yes.
That's the first time we see Cathy.
And it's just struck me now, if you look, Emerald Fennell is a filmmaker's filmmaker. She loves the art of cinema. She talks about how cinema is an art form that engages every sense. It's emotional, it's passionate, it's repulsive, it's all these kind of things. In a weird way, the hanging, the act of a public execution was in their day the blockbuster. That was their mainstream entertainment. Yeah, and in a weird way, there's a kind of metaphor in there for what Emerald Fennell does to us with her films. She repulses us and attracts us, and she titillates us and lures us in. And
pushes you to look away, but then just shifts it the next second so that you don't. That's what I love about
Yeah, I thought the opening scene was so immersive. It was so visceral. It was so raw. The soundtrack was beautiful. And can I just stress, everyone's talking about this film in terms of Charlie XCX having done the music. She's done a lot of tracks for it, but the music is also by Anthony Willis, who's done the score. The score, as opposed to the songs and the music by Charlie XCX, is sensational throughout this. It's less a soundtrack, it's more an accompaniment to emotion, isn't it? And it sort of just it sounds rather than the musicality.
Yeah, it carries you through.
Yeah, it really did. Anyway, so it starts and we get in and we're with the young Cathy. Her monstrous father brings in this urchin who's Heathcliff, and then they tell the classic story. And it's a story, the whole Wuthering Heights story is a story of love, unrequited love, class, the inability to reach outside of class, brutality,
toxicity within relationships.
Absolutely, and then
whether that be with your with parents or love.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then all
beauty and hideousness. And desperation and sadomasochism.
Yeah, and about primal and kind of natural nature versus nurture, nature versus civilization, if you like, all the structures of class. And ultimately, it's a story of revenge and how you can twist love into something vengeful, which.
And with the, what is it they say? You take being revengeful is like taking poison, expecting the other person to die. And that's made so clear. And as Emerald Fennell said as well, it looks at what we all know, that there is always a price for love. There is always a grief, whether you lose that love or you lose that person to death, to whatever. And that's running through it, isn't it? All the way through, I was just terrified of who was going to lose what. What was going to happen next.
Yes.
Because it was all just so terrifying.
The whole film was an experience, an experiment in breathlessness.
Yeah.
I felt breathless all the way, right down from the first scene where quite literally a man is losing his breath in the first off screen, through to the tightness of corsets and bodices, and everyone is.
And
I felt everyone was holding breath.
Alcoholism and violence.
Yeah.
Servants just holding their place, suppression, and what happens when we suppress.
Yeah.
We all know it's dangerous for health, dangerous for relationships, and this is it on crack.
Exactly.
In Technicolor.
What I would like to say there just briefly at this point, so I don't forget it, but it's interesting, obviously, and even Emerald Fennell said in an interview, it's just dawned on me, or it's been told to me, that actually all my films are about revenge. Actually, the arc of Heathcliff in this and how he seeks to take revenge on Cathy for marrying up into class and money. His vengeful abandoning him. His vengeful move is very, very similar to Barry Keown's in Saltburn. He seeks to pull down a whole family and also pull down a house, which is Wuthering Heights, that kind of stuff. What are our thoughts on Margot, Robbie and Jacob Elordi? Because a lot has been made of the casting choices here. Are you a fan of Jacob, a fan of Margot?
Well, everybody's a fan of Jacob, are they not? Is there a living, breathing woman who isn't a fan of Jacob Elordi? He's beautiful. They're movie stars. Both of them are major, major movie stars. In fact, as we were settling in to watch the film, I said to Mark, do you like Margot Robbie? And he went, well, yeah, you get what you expect from her.
I mean, I must admit, I've never been overexcited by it.
And I said, but nobody can deny she is a movie star.
Yes.
They are the two beautiful stars. So with that, one always gets a bit worried about where it could go, and are they going to be, you know, like I hate an all-star cast because I think so often something weird happens when there's lots of famous people. Because they're both so mega. I do think she was a bit old for it. I thought
a lot of people have said that.
I thought that before I went in. So when I heard Emerald Fennell saying, well, it was so wonderful that she asked me, I thought, was it? Or was it a little bit of you that went, oh, fuck, I love her. I love her as a friend. I love her as a woman. I love her as an actress. But she is too old for it.
Yes.
So that's what I was thinking before I went in. I was like, she's too old. And then, sure enough, when she first comes out, and this isn't the way that she looks or anything.
No.
Because she's exquisitely beautiful. She's perfect. But she was too old.
Yeah.
But I just got over that pretty quickly, and I had low expectations, though I don't know why, because I do like her. But I loved her feistiness. The child that plays her as the child set the tone brilliantly.
Yeah, I was just looking for literally.
She was fantastic.
Yeah, the young actors in this are sensational.
The young actors were utterly brilliant. And really set the tone of the playfulness.
Charlotte Millington is the young Cathy,
Millington.
and Owen Cooper from Adolescence plays the young Heathcliff.
Well, Charlotte Millington was absolutely brilliant,
she was exquisite.
and so, in a way, it really aided Margot because she played it with such intense, like playfulness and spoilt brat, and like one. And you know when you see a really abused child and they can really act out,
they overcompensate almost.
They're either they cannot behave in a really spoilt way, a really demanding way, a really aggressive, and can be sweet and compliant. And she played all those so brilliantly, that little girl. And then when Margot came in, she continued that.
Yeah, I think
Even
that's
though
interesting.
She was a bit too old for it. She did it. It was in there. She brought in the youth.
I think you're right. I think what that also inadvertently, I'm not even suggesting this was their intention, but because you have the prelude of them as children, because we really bedded in with them, and as you rightly say, the young Cathy was sensational and almost was over amplified because she was managing and kind of eggshelly around her raging addict Martin Clunes' father. But because we also had thrown at us one has to say, remarkable performance by Martin Clunes. Yeah. And he was, in a weird way, because you had the two children, you know, principally, and him, he was the overpowering male presence at the front of the film.
Well, it was so hideous, so violent, so awful, with a kind of, I picked up, Mark didn't think so, but I felt that there was a leaning towards, there might have been sexual abuse also towards Cathy and to the young boy that he brings home. So violent, revolting alcoholic who rules the house and terrifies the house. Or the servants, the children, everybody.
Yes, but I would just want to add in as an adjunct to that, what made his performance a little bit more light and shade than that was his need for affirmation from his daughter. That wonderful moment where the boy, you know, the young Heathcliff says, I did it, I made her do it, and because she was thinking of you on your birthday, and you saw Martin Clunes turn. I think Martin Clunes it wasn't. No, but you felt the truth of whatever fucked up contortion of Martin Clunes' vulnerabilities were.
Well, see, that's interesting. I didn't.
I did. I thought it was really
because she'd learned to play the addict. So she was like, "Oh, Daddy, because you're so wonderful, I would love him to stay." And so it was like, yes, suck up to me. Tell me I'm fantastic. No, I didn't.
I saw a look of desperation in him. I saw a look of desperation in him where he reached to the possibility that perhaps because there was another moment at the dinner table where he says, and now I bet you think I'm this monstrous thing. He doesn't want to be thought of as what he is.
Because he was so evil.
Oh, right.
So for me,
no, I mean, he was evil.
He was a gambler, he was a sexual abuser, he was violent, and he was the, you know, what is it they say in rehab? The biggest piece of shit
at the centre of the universe.
At the centre of the universe. So the insecurity, like later on in the film, he goes, "Don't look at me as if you make out I'm a monster when I am not," because he, you know. So no, he was pure.
Oh, don't get me wrong. You can't look at his character and say they were redeeming characters, but I think and I think in the playing of any character, I think everyone who's playing those characters is looking for those true points of vulnerability. He can be vulnerable and not pleasant. I saw his vulnerability. I saw him give something to the part. I just thought he was sensational.
He was
absolutely sensational. And he unsettled you, the front of the film. So when you're right, going back to your point about the younger actors, in a sense, did a really nice off-ramp into the arrival of Jacob Elordi, two movie stars, as you rightly said. And I think the movie starness of them was slightly undercut in a brilliant way by the fact that they'd been preceded by very powerful, very understated. And let's just give a shout out to the boy from Adolescence. I thought he was beautiful. Owen Cooper. Anyone who thinks it's just a one-hit wonder with Adolescence. That moment where he's lying on the bed and he's tearful and she's holding him and he holds her foot from under the bed, and the connection between the two of them.
Yeah, when he says, I will take more, and he's just been brutally beaten by her father. And she said, why did you do it? Because I couldn't see it done to you, and I would do it over and over again and over and over, and nothing would stop me. And she said, well, then we are surely doomed.
Oh my God, I know.
So, to go back to your question about Margot and Jacob, so there was this unbelievable energy between these really young actors that was so good. And then when she came in, I thought, we've jumped 30 years.
Right. Yes, yes, because she was suddenly on a windswept hill, wasn't she?
No, Rich, we weren't supposed to have jumped 30 years. We were supposed to have jumped maybe
10,
7 or 8.
6.
But because she was too old for the part, it was. But again, not because of the way she looked, but just a person that's older and has the thing that they're older. But I think she pulled it off. I do think Jacob Elordi's wig at one point was a little bit Planet of the Apes. I'm going to say it. I've got to say it. Because everything else was perfection. The production design, everything. But
with his long hair.
What did you think?
Well, there were a couple of moments when we originally saw the trailer. I mean, you know me and hairpieces in films. That's one of my intolerances.
It was a little bit like, what was the really big Tarzan film that did so well? Oh,
Tarzan, I think.
No, but anyway, and
Greystoke.
the wig was Greystoke.
Yeah,
it was a Greystoke wig.
I thought they overplayed his. I mean, the thing is, there were great big dollops of, having studied D.H. Lawrence, of D.H. Lawrence in this. It was Sons and Daughters, it was Women in Love, it was Lady Chatterley's Lover. You know, and if you think of Lady Chatterley's Lover, again, it's love across a class boundary. He uses the C word, he fingers her, I think, you know, all that grubby, primal, real sex.
And how did they know about this?
Yeah.
The writers then?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
They weren't doing it, were they?
No, exactly. So I felt he kind of became, you're right, I think when he had all his long hair and he looked like Tarzan of Greystoke.
Look, listen, I don't need to make a big thing. It just was, there was moments it was a bit too Tarzan.
Yes, but you know what I felt it did do though? It allowed us to it sounds weird, because of course he's characterised as a gypsy, a person of darker skin in the book. And there was a recent film by Andrea Arnold in which they actually cast a black actor to play Heathcliff. I've never thought of Heathcliff as black. I have always thought of him as being of the travelling people, gypsy descent.
From being outside and being very dark.
Exactly, and I wondered whether the thinking there was that with all the beard and all the hair, it allowed him to appear dark. They wanted him to be darker.
Oh God, listen, he's supposed to have long hair, but it was just a little bit Greystoke. But he was beautiful.
Yes.
You know, I mean,
he's
you
proper
have to say
eye candy.
Jacob Elordi and everyone melts, and so he delivered on that brilliantly. But he also was extremely. His acting was fantastic.
I thought he was beautiful
from the first minute.
And I thought he was beautiful. Of course, the other problem I had with Jacob Elordi altogether was I've just come off the back of watching a film I thought I really enjoyed, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, in which he plays the monster, and all the way through it, he's been nominated for an Oscar for it. You know, and he's this kind of brooding, tall presence. So there were many times in this where I kept expecting him just to kind of go and sort of leer out. What I thought was lovely about his performance was how tender and humble and acquiescent he was in the face of him kind of realising he was losing her to her temptation to this family that moves into the area and then her future husband. I thought it wasn't overplayed. I just thought it was so beautifully done for saying he was so physical and so beautiful. He had a real kind of,
he played all
gentleness to him.
He played all the feelings and he played the sexiness.
Yeah, but he wasn't just, that's what I mean, he wasn't just strength of pulling up by a corset, he was also tender and vulnerable.
He played all the emotions, and therefore the sexiness was so much sexier because it wasn't just the bodice ripping. It was, you know, because of the suppression and the, you know, everything being so forbidden, the pulling back, the not, you know, the kind of half shy look from the corner of his eye at her, but then also because they'd grown up as children, just this absolute knowledge of each other, the playfulness that stayed in there.
I thought that was really tender as well. I really liked the way in which the whole film dealt with that thing of them being close to each other and companions when they're young. I think there's something really, it's not talked about enough. If I think of my first, obviously there was a sexual component to any first girlfriend, you have sex for the first time, But one of the things I think is beautiful about first loves is that companionship thing. There's that kind of, we're going into the world together, and so you have a sort of almost, I don't mean it horribly, but sibling-esque kind of, presence. I thought that the young actors played that, and I thought a real tribute to Margot and Jacob carrying that into, rather than it just immediately going to bodice ripping, I want you sex.
The transition was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about tonally with the direction and the idea of it being a period drama, because I'm just trying to think of what will people be surprised by. I think the thing that struck me was we did the young Cathy and Heathcliff. We flip into big age jumps and Jacob and Margot, accommodate that, we move on with that. Then she starts to sort of, want her aspiration, class aspiration is this other man, this other family, the money, etc. And she starts moving away from Heathcliff. At this point where we're almost halfway through the film, I was like, where's the big surprise? And I know it sounds simplistic and stupid of me. I was waiting for an Emerald Fennell. Well, I was waiting for an Emerald Fennell moment. I was sort of, of course, there are lots of kind of weird moments where she sticks a finger in a
No,
fish.
that's later on.
No, I know it's later, but I'm just saying there were other moments earlier where you've got eggs under, they put eggs in the bed. You've got those I'm just trying to look for those moments where I was thinking, where's the Emerald Fennell-ness of this film? Because it was quite conventional. There were details in the production design and set design that were curious and unexplained, and you sort of thought, oh, that's a bit weird. Sort of parts of rock and hands, and I know that some of that was later. But then the eggs, where she'd have extreme close-ups of the yolks as they put their fingers in them when they've sat on them. That was all Emerald Fennell for me. That's what I'm getting down. But I was still waiting for some great big fucking handbrake U-turn like we get in our other films, and it never arrived.
I thought, because there was so much about how out there and how different it is, I thought it was because we got moments of this kind of like magic realism, and so I thought it was going to be all like that. But it did come, but in the second half when she meets Edgar.
Yeah, no, but I suppose that's what I'm saying.
Cartoon colours that came into it, and they're like, the really decadent, tables of food and everything.
Well, there was one particular montage where there is that transition, where there's for me the halfway point in this film, like the moment where Barry Keoghan changes his whole personality in Saltburn, was that wondrous scene with the actress who plays Isabella, where she's telling her brother about Romeo and Juliet, and then she sees Margot at the wall of the garden, and then we literally entered. It was almost like Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's when we stepped into that, because it was very dark, all very dark. The dark house, the Wuthering Heights, the cold, freezing cold, hardly any light. The suffering, the poverty, the living under the attic, all of that, and then it went into it in the second half. Because this house that... No, I get that. I suppose what I was expecting was I thought, given Emerald Fennell's ability to completely pivot on a dime, I thought we were going to get something much more dramatic. I felt she went there in set design, went there in costume design. For a moment, there was a flurry of kind of colours and shift and change, and then I was kind of shocked that it was quite conventional. I think where it's not is... I think a lot of it comes from the performances, because actually the performances are huge. The Emerald Fennell, they're huge. They're like... almost cartoon-like characters, really big close-ups and really playful, and the emotions turn on a dime, don't they? When you think about it, you think it's going one way, and then they'll spin each other around. So that's what kind of kept us the whole time, like sort of edgy and like, what the fuck's going to happen next? Which I think was the thing that she did. I think that was the Emerald Fennell stamp.
I felt like she did most of it through set design and through production design and costume.
It's certainly in the second half.
Yeah. As soon as she moves to the house, there's that incredibly there's literally a montage. She's even got those sort of almost John Lennon style pink glasses. It's all and almost
the wallpaper
punk.
Is the skin.
Yeah, the colour of her skin.
Cathy's skin.
With moles on it and everything, yeah.
But I agree, it's like in the production design and clothes, but I also felt that in the actors as well. I felt like something just really shifted up, and because the costumes were so out there on her, weren't they? And she was just, I don't know, just everything was just like, everything was like lifted up, like in a way that I think most directors would be timid to do because of the book and because of it being a period drama. I don't know, I think it all then became, I don't want to say cartoon-like because it's not. It's rooted in truth and everything, but it was something overblown, over colourful, over big, about it?
What I really liked about the, when she marries into, what's the name of the family? She marries into the Lintons, and Jacob Elordi, Heathcliff, heads off and disappears, and she can't believe he's actually disappeared, and then he comes back, and then the whole vengeful revenge thing, and then it's almost a reliving of Saltburn almost, as he comes back and he wants to punish her.
Yeah, but then there's all the love comes back,
no,
and
absolutely.
then the sex, and again, she's so good at doing sex, because though you feel like you've been in something X-rated, you never are.
No, absolutely. I mean, and also that's a huge testament to all that sort of approach to things like egg yolk and eggs and fish and all that kind of stuff.
You don't need to be like voyeurs into other people. You know, when you think back to the what's the Woman of Substance? You know, that was about rape and sexual abuse and everything, and we just never saw it.
Promising young woman.
We never saw them degraded.
You don't have to indulge in the act of watching the thing that's awful in order to get a sense of how awful the thing done to women is.
And we had one scene after another. Bam, 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 different day. Of them meeting, kissing, passionate. It was really, really passionate. I mean, did you find it horny?
I didn't find it horny. I found it sort of exhilarating. I found it a more satisfying and enjoyable complete watch as a film than I did Saltburn, what would you have needed for it to be horny? Because I'm just interested in the difference between men and women when they watch. I'm not. I mean, even though she doesn't go full Mills and Boon, it's high camp, and I mean, romantic gothic romance. It's like she said in interviews, it tilts towards humour, it tilts towards laugh out loud. I love what Emerald Fennell's sort of shtick is, not only around acting and performance, but also around camera work, set design. Is how can we do it? Yes, let's set the normality of the scene, let's set the normality of the performance, but then let's embarrass ourselves. Let's fucking go too far. Let's do it badly.
Bad acting, she says.
And in some of the scenes, I would say, if you carry that extension, some of the scenes, some of the set design, some of the moments or the set pieces, this doesn't make any sense. But in a weird way, I love her boldness for just going, fuck it. Every one room at one point, the walls were crystals, and it was just like, well, we know that won't have happened, but it was like you were invited into this magic realism. You made a point when we came out, which I really kind of still feel, which is, it felt like it was hurtling towards, or it kept stepping towards a magic realism that actually I felt I could have gone further with. I almost wanted, if I'm honest, I wanted it to tilt more into without sounding film academic, foregrounding of the telling of a romantic story, which it does, because you've got like shots of him going off into an artificially red sunset on the horseback. That's definite Mills and Boon, isn't it? You've got clinches, you've got clutches, you've got the moors, you've got bodice ripping, all that. You've got the perspiration on the chest and all that. I could have done with, I was expecting and maybe was wondering at sometimes, I thought, lean into that even more. Go right into almost hallucinogenic, almost disturbed. Because I mean,
I think that's what it was. I think at points it was almost. Because I feel differently about it overnight. Because we always settle in, don't we, before I do our reviews. And I think it was the right amount. And when I think about what she says about the images and the feelings that she had, that's what she's put into her writing. It's not. And I think, like, to just take it slightly to the edge. Today in yin yoga, when she was talking about the yoga teaching, she said to just go slightly to the edge can be delicious.
Yes.
Sometimes if you go over that edge, it becomes too much, and then you're taken away, and then it becomes magic realism for the sake of it. So for me, I can see why a lot of people might have liked more of it. For me, it was enough, because then it still stayed rooted in the sex. So I thought it was very sexy. Well, I thought, and probably that was because as a 13, 14-year-old girl, it was around the same time that I was probably watching, or maybe even a bit younger, and finding that very sexy, all that sort of
Well, look, as an example,
there's a scene where he picks her up by her bodice and kisses her, and it's so horny.
I mean, it is. I mean, I was looking at the technicalities of how, if I did that with my fingers, it's funny, I was just trying to, no, you will do. But for example, Martin Clunes dies of alcoholism, she goes to see his body. There's literally like piles in an art installation style, an unrealistic mountains of
That's
bottles.
like a sore thumb because we hadn't seen anything.
Well, not
like
only that, but then you also
for
had
minutes and minutes and minutes in the film, and then it was like,
very odd.
that was just an idea that somebody had that they wanted to do.
Like the idea of the hearth or the fireplace, which had all the hands, that had sort of carved hands going to. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved that. And there was an earlier scene where, and I loved what Emerald Fennell said, where she said she was interested in the properties, certainly in Wuthering Heights, the property of nature and the rock and
the nature into the house.
Into the house, and one can't escape the fact that the one thing that Wuthering Heights is kind of manifests totally in English literature is that idea of pathetic fallacy, the idea of the weather and the landscape reflecting the inner turmoil of a character. That's what Wuthering Heights is probably most famous for. And I think this film did a really good job of translating that sort of pathetic fallacy into everything, whether it be the soft furnishings, which is her body, her skin, you know, within the house. So, I mean, I loved all these.
More Heather, because that's a big image.
Yes, Heather.
I
Right.
to see Heather colour. I'm really surprised she didn't go for a bit of that overblown, the colour there, because the colour in the second half, I thought, we're going to get our Heather. We're going to get it proper now.
But it felt like it very much could have been and should have been in the early shots. I mean, there were quite a few shots of them kind of on the moors and, you know, big rocky bluffs and all that kind of stuff. I just want to give a shout out though to some of the other. This is not just a Margot Robbie, Jacob Elordi vehicle, and it's not just Martin Clunes alongside them. Hong Chau, who plays her assistant, Nellie Dean. She is sensational. There's so much going on for her character. She's alongside Kathy. Yeah, and almost like a governess type thing, absolutely. Her heartbreak, but her control, her punishment, her throwing the letters on the fire.
Conduit for Kathy's cruelty.
Yes.
So we saw a lot of her cruelty.
Yes, absolutely.
But the age is there stuck for me as well. It was just weird. Margot was too old.
But the other performance that I thought was one of the most tender performances, Shazad Latif, who plays her husband, Edgar Linton, the man she marries. He was beautiful.
Brilliant.
I thought it was a beautiful performance.
His sister.
Oh, well, hang on a minute. Isabella, played by Alison Oliver.
We were like, who is she? Who is she?
She is
so
sensational.
Good. So good.
But again, the script was so good.
Some moments were very Scarlett-O'Hara.
Yes.
Weren't they?
Yes.
It's weird. When those lines that came so clearly had come from the book.
Yes.
They were the Scarlett-O'Hara moments.
Yeah. I mean, I think what is great about the story also is that boundary line, or the blurry line in any relationship between control and love, between the dangerous aspects of love and the passionate aspects of love.
Well, and where it crosses over into toxicity.
Precisely.
And the thing is, love is not sensible, and everybody always wants people to be sensible.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when the guardrails are off, they're off, and this is what this story is about, and this is why it will endure, this story, because everybody's fascinated by that.
Yeah,
it's just so sad.
It is so sad. It is so sad.
Gut-wrenching, because it's like, oh, you could have just been poor together. You could have just been beggars together, or you could have gone off, because he goes off and becomes wealthy. Of course, I wanted to know how all that happened. But so it just pulls at your heartstrings in every way.
I loved the tug to and fro in their love. I mean, I came out of the film and I said they've got to both be Scorpio, because that's kind of Scorpio behaviour. The punishment.
They've also both been brought up with an addict.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Punishment.
So they knew that fear that feels like excitement gets all mixed up as excitement, and there's real feeling.
Punishment and passion. I mean, I found the way in which Isabella, when she kind of goes off with Heathcliff and he's punishing Kathy by taking her, and then the bit where she was chained up like a dog. I couldn't help but feel by the end of the film, that, and she's kind of indicated as much in interview, that there were a whole heap of other, as I was suggesting, more abstract, more odd, more extreme, more potentially repulsive moments in this film. As she calls them, darlings that you have to kill in the edit. And I couldn't help but feel sometimes that we were left with, in the film, the edges of some of those moments. So I found it very rapid and unbelievable, the whole kind of chaining her as a dog to the fireplace. Did you not?
Because they've gone into sadomasochism. The brilliant line when he's taking her off, he goes, "I will be cruel to you. I will never want you. Every time I have you, I'll be
God, it's
thinking of her."
such a powerful scene.
And she says,
"Will you be okay
such
with
a good
this?"
scene, and it's a scene, servant and master, and it just carried on. There are plenty of people that want a chain around their neck, and it's totally believable.
But the way it wasn't just S&M.
Their pain.
But she wasn't entering into it for S&M. She was entering into it because she thought, well, this is the way I can have what I dream of, which is a beautiful man.
Well, no, but she was massively turned on by it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of the boredom and the tedium of her life.
Absolutely.
So it was exciting.
But she's willing to sacrifice her liberty.
Yeah. Yeah, because what was her liberty?
No,
She's stuck
absolutely.
indoors making ribboned embroideries. Far, far worse. Tie me up like a dog and occasionally shag me is going to be way better than sitting there embroidering morning, noon and night. And I thought that was brilliantly illustrated. That again, because for me, so much of the story is about what happens when you suppress people, when you control people, when you disallow people. And of course, Martin Clunes sets that up so brilliantly. The absolute misogynistic brutality, control that he has over all that. I mean, the way he treats the servants, everything. I mean, it really is so disgusting. Shitting himself, pissing himself. These people have been through everything, like that great line when Margot says, "We're all sick because of you," and she's brave enough to fly at him at times, but the consequences are always awful. And so the toxicity that then comes into the relationship later, it's all tied in,
So in summary, would you recommend this? Was it everything you hoped it would be? Did it deliver on your memory of the book, of the story?
Well, the first thing is it's good that I didn't have hopes because I didn't know at all what it was. All I knew was that I had loved a film I saw many, many years ago. There'd been some sort of sexual awakening from it. And I love Emerald Fennell. I think Elordi is bloody delicious, and so is she. So that was all I went in with, really, because I knew about the inverted commas. But I really enjoyed it. My way of marking is, do I rush into work tomorrow and say to everybody, "Oh my God, you've got to see Wuthering Heights"? And I will be more cautious. I would say I saw Wuthering Heights at the weekend and I absolutely loved it.
Right.
A bit like Hamnet. I said the same at the end of Hamnet, where I wouldn't say everybody see it because I think it's going to be very particular.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think this is going to be in any way, shape or form what people expect from it. And yet I can't really work out why.
What did you expect?
Because it's not entirely different to what the story is. I mean, I like their performances. I like the film. I found it a more enjoyable, complete watch than I did Saltburn. The thing that I was surprised by was how much I enjoyed individually Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie. So I think the biggest surprise for me across this film was how convincing and how complete their performances were.
It's period soap opera.
Yeah, but would I recommend it? And how would
drama soap opera.
No, you see, I suppose what I liked about it was it wasn't classic quintessential period drama.
No.
I'll give it that. It reminded me a little bit of The Favourite in its willingness to kind of step away from the conventions of period drama. And and I like anything that tips a so-called genre. I think a lot of people will go and see this thinking they're going to get a period drama, and it starts like that. It feels like that, but it becomes something. You're right. It's a very slow dissolve towards Emerald Fennellness, if you like. It starts quite classically, and it becomes quite, wow, kind of brightly coloured, but quite, obviously tragic and all the rest of it. I really like the way in which she's explained the inverted commas and how this is really this is a portrait of a story through the lens of a much younger contemporary woman, the director. And I think that's a really useful grab for anyone going to see this. I think more people will get past what they think this might be, what they think they're getting. If you go and see the film and think of it in terms of this actively is a modern woman's retelling of what it did for her when she first hit the story. And I think that's why, although at first I thought, what pretentious detail having the inverted commas, that's why I actually really like the inverted comma detail as something to flag up to people. This is about the act of telling the story and remembering the story. All of that said, I thought every single performance in it was sensational. I mean, I was really engaged and moved. Beautiful set design.
Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi really benefited from working with such a classy director.
Yeah, really.
Because I think she got things out of them they wouldn't have expected.
Absolutely, and she's proof, Emerald Fennell is proof, and this is a real skill as a director, that you can lean into cliche. Everything about Wuthering Heights is cliche, from Kathy and, Kate Bush and all that bollocks. Everything about it is cliche written, and what she's done.
I was expecting that Kate Bush's tune would come in, because that's the sort of thing I wouldn't think. I think Emerald should have put that in, because I bet you anything.
A bit on the nose for Emerald, though. A bit on the nose, maybe.
I bet
for
you
Emerald.
anything that Kate Bush tune also kicked it in for her, the story in the film. So she should have been brave and put it in somewhere.
Well, I really like the fact that she didn't. I really like the fact that she lent into cliche to the right extent, and it never became awkward or kind of icky or anything like that. And I think that's a real skill. You've got to be a very capable filmmaker to be able to, and when I say lean into cliche, I mean that in terms of set design, lighting, you know, everything going on. I'd also like to give a shout out. I really like the parallel detail story that they obviously went to great lengths to recreate, of the doll's house and how everything was going on in this house. It's a bit Hereditary. It's another film with dolls' houses in it. I loved it. And so if I was to say, I would recommend everyone to go and see it, and I would score it around, I'd probably give it about 80 out of 100 or 4 out of 5. It's the same thing, you know. I loved it. I really liked it.
I really enjoyed it.
And I enjoyed it much more than Saltburn.
I had no idea how long it was. There wasn't a minute where I was bored. Right at the beginning, I thought, well, I don't know if I can do this, because it seemed like there was going to be a lot of like abuse of the children and beatings up. And I thought, no, I don't.
It was quite Dickensian, wasn't it?
Very Dickensian.
I mean, Martin Clunes looked like he'd walked straight
very
out. Very
Dickensian.
Oliver Twist.
Exactly. We should have said that at the beginning. But
I loved
every minute.